The air in Haversham and Sons solicitors is thick with the smell of old paper and fresh grief. Rain streaks the leaded windows, distorting the view of a grey London. My sister, Isabella, and I sit in identical black dresses, a mirror image of loss. Our parents are gone, taken too soon by a car accident on the M25. Mr. Haversham, a man whose face is a roadmap of wrinkles and propriety, adjusts his spectacles and clears his throat. He holds the last will and testament of Edward and Eleanor Vance, our mother and father. Isabella, Sophia, he begins, his voice a soft, respectful rumble. Your parents were meticulous. Their will is very clear. He reads the legalese, but I barely hear it over the roaring in my ears. Until he gets to the core of it. The entirety of the estate, including the liquid assets, the portfolio, and the proceeds from the sale of the London townhouse, is to be divided equally between their two daughters. This includes the establishment of two separate, irrevocable trusts, each valued at approximately £6 million, accessible to each of you upon your 30th birthday, or in the case of proven entrepreneurial venture, with trustee approval. I feel a sob catch in my throat. It wasn't just money. It was a launchpad. It was the freedom to finally start my art gallery, a dream I'd shared with my mother since I was a girl. I glance at Isabella. Her eyes are dry, fixed on Mr. Haversham with an unnerving intensity. However, Mr. Haversham continues, there is a specific, sentimental asset. The family's villa in Villefranche-sur-Mer, in the south of France. Your mother was very clear. She wanted it to go to the daughter who shared her passion for art and preservation. Therefore, the villa is bequeathed solely to Sophia. Isabella's head snaps toward me. For a fraction of a second, the mask of grief slips, and I see it, a flash of pure, undiluted venom. Then it's gone, replaced by a serene smile. Of course, she says, her voice sweet as poison. It's what mother would have wanted. Sophia's the artistic one. She reaches over and squeezes my hand. Her grip is ice cold. We have each other. That's all that matters. I squeeze back, feeling a chill that has nothing to do with the rain outside. Her words sound hollow, a rehearsed line in a play I didn't know we were performing. In that moment, I don't see my twin. I see a stranger wearing my face. And I feel a premonition so dark it steals my breath. The betrayal was a masterclass in patience and cruelty. In the weeks that followed, Isabella was my rock. She handled the tedious paperwork, as she called it. She was always at Mr. Haversham's office, freeing me up to grieve. I was lost in a fog of sorrow, and she expertly navigated the bureaucracy of death. The first sign was a phone call from our bank. A large transfer had been made from my personal account, which held a small amount of money from our parents. I called Isabella, panicked. Oh, that was me, silly, she said, her voice light. Mr. Haversham needed it for the probate fees. It's all so complicated. Don't worry, I've got it. I trusted her. She was my other half. Then, the letters started coming. Final demands. My credit cards, which I rarely used, were maxed out. Applications for loans I never took out. I confronted her, my voice trembling. Her face crumpled. Sophia, how can you think that of me? We're being targeted. Identity thieves prey on the recently bereaved. We have to be strong. Together. She was so convincing. She held me while I cried, assuring me she would fix it. She was the accomplice to her own crime, comforting the victim she was creating. The final, devastating blow came a month later. A formal letter arrived from Haversham and Sons. It stated that following the presentation of compelling documentation, including a psychological evaluation citing my unstable mental state and gambling addiction, along with a signed, notarized deed of gift from me, Sophia Vance, the trustees had approved the early release and subsequent transfer of my entire £6 million trust fund to my sister, Isabella Vance, for the purposes of estate consolidation and management. I stared at the letter, my world collapsing. The psychological evaluation was a forgery. The deed of gift was a lie. She had studied me, copied my signature until it was perfect, and used my grief as a weapon against me. I ran to her apartment. It was empty. A neighbor handed me a note. Dearest Sophia. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. The world saw a grieving daughter. I saw an opportunity. You were always the favorite. The villa was the final insult. My life here is a shadow. I'm going to live in the light. Don't try to find me. You have no money, and no one will believe you over me. It's my turn now. Isabella. She had stolen my identity, my inheritance, and my future. She was living my life, and she had left me with nothing but her debts and her hollow name. For 2 days, I didn't move from my floor. I was a ghost in my own empty apartment. Then, on the 3rd day, a cold, hard clarity descended. Grief was a luxury I could no longer afford. Revenge would be my art now. My intelligence was in our sameness. I was an archivist by trade, a hunter of forgotten truths. Isabella was the impulsive one, the performer. She could mimic my signature, but she couldn't mimic my patience. I became a phantom. I took a job as a night clerk at a library, a quiet space where I could plan. I sold everything of value I had left, scraping together pennies. I used my research skills to find her. It wasn't easy. She was careful. But she was also arrogant. I cross-referenced social media posts of luxury resorts in the south of France, tagged by acquaintances, never by her, with credit card applications made in my name. I tracked a shipping manifest for a sports car sent to a port in Nice. I pieced together a digital footprint she thought she'd erased. She was in Monaco, living in a penthouse with a view of the sea, likely using the villa in Villefranche as a summer home. The stakes were my entire existence. My dignity. My parents' legacy. Then, I made my move. I went to the one place she would never expect, our childhood home, now sold. The new owners were kind and allowed me to visit the treehouse in the back garden. Taped under a loose floorboard, where we'd hidden secret notes as children, was a small metal box. Inside, were our childhood passports, kept as mementos by our sentimental mother. We were 16 in the photos, but we still looked remarkably similar. And more importantly, Isabella had kept her first driver's license in the box. It was all I needed. With these documents, I could begin to build a new, legitimate identity. Not as Sophia Vance, but as Isabella. I went to the government records office. I reported my sister, Sophia's passport as lost, using the old one for ID. I spoke with her cadence, I used her mannerisms. I had spent a lifetime observing her. I became her. I obtained a new passport in the name of Isabella Vance. The Phoenix Clause here was my own identity. The one thing she couldn't steal was my knowledge of her. I knew her childhood fears, her first kiss, the secret nickname for our father. I was the only person in the world who could perfectly impersonate her. The power shift happened not with a bang, but with a click of a mouse from a dingy internet cafe. With my new, legitimate, Isabella ID, I contacted the private bank in Zurich that managed the trust fund. Isabella, in her arrogance, had never changed the contact information. She assumed I was defeated. All security correspondence still went to a P.O. box I had access to, one she'd set up during her paperwork phase and forgotten about. I scheduled a video call with the bank manager, Hebron. I sat in the stark light of the cafe's webcam, my hair styled like Isabella's, wearing a blouse I'd stolen from her closet before she left. I was Isabella. Fräulein Vance, Hebron said, a pleasure. How can we assist you? Hebron, I said, my voice a perfect replica of my sister's polished, slightly condescending tone. I've had a spiritual awakening. The money, this fortune, it's a weight on my soul. I've decided to make a significant change. I wish to liquidate the entire trust and make a series of wire transfers. He was taken aback. The entire trust? That is most unusual. The fees, the tax implications. I am aware, I said, waving a hand dismissively, just as she would. I have the account numbers here. I wish to donate the entirety of the funds to a list of charitable organizations. I've attached the list and the wire authorization forms, signed. I had spent weeks researching. The charities were all real, all worthy: ocean conservation, cancer research, refugee aid. The money would do real good in the world, which was the final, beautiful irony. The fruits of her theft would heal the world she so callously exploited. Her brawn, after verifying my identity with questions only the real Isabella, or her twin, could answer, reluctantly agreed. The wheels were in motion. The first transfer, a test, went through. Then the next. I had just set in motion the financial vaporization of my sister's stolen life, and she was probably sipping champagne on her balcony, completely unaware. The confrontation happened over a crackling international line. My burner phone rang. The screen read, Monaco. I answered. I didn't speak. Sophia? Isabella's voice was shrill, panicked. You vile, pathetic creature. What have you done? My bank is calling me. They're saying I authorized the liquidation of my trust. I let the silence hang, letting her hysteria build. It was you. It had to be you. I'll have you arrested. I'll tell them you impersonated me. Who would they believe, Isabella? I said, my voice calm and cold. The unstable sister with a history of identity theft and fraud? Or the upstanding citizen whose identity was so thoroughly verified by the Swiss bank itself? Her anger was a physical force through the phone. That's my money. I earned it. You earned it? I repeated softly. By forging documents? By stealing from your own sister? By leaving me with nothing? The anger broke, turning into desperate manipulation. Sophia, please. Listen to me. I was wrong. I was grieving, I wasn't myself. We can fix this. Call the bank, tell them it was a mistake. We can split it, 50/50ths. No, 70/30ths. You can have the villa. Just please, stop the transfers. It's too late, I said. The last wire was confirmed an hour ago. There's nothing left. The account is closed. Then came the begging. It was a raw, ugly sound. Sophia, I'm begging you. My life is here. My friends, my home, they'll all leave. I'll be ruined. I have nothing. Now you know how it feels, I whispered into the phone. You didn't just steal my money, Isabella. You stole my future. You murdered our bond. Your downfall was inevitable the moment you decided that being my reflection wasn't enough. You wanted to be me. So I let you. And then I showed you what it's like to be nothing at all. I heard a choked sob, then the line went dead. She had finally realized that the sister she had left for dead had been standing behind her all along, holding a mirror that reflected not her face, but her utter annihilation. There was no family left to have fallout with. We were all that remained. But the emotional closure came from Mr. Haversham. I went to see him, presenting him with the entire story and the evidence I'd collected. The old man was horrified. My dear girl. I had no idea. She was so convincing. She seemed so concerned for you. His regret was a small, cold comfort. Why did you stay silent for so long? He asked, his voice full of pity. Because I needed her to feel safe, I explained. I needed her to build a life so high in the clouds that the fall would shatter everything. Speaking out would have been a skirmish. Silence allowed for a total war, and a total victory. Isabella, in her desperation, tried to sue the bank. She tried to claim coercion. But the evidence was against her. The video call showed a calm, collected woman. The security questions were answered correctly. The paper trail led back to her. Her justifications exposed her as a fraud and a perjurer. Isabella's collapse was as spectacular as it was total. Without funds, she was evicted from her penthouse. The sports car was repossessed. The villa in Villefranche-sur-Mer, still legally in my name, was reoccupied by me. Her new friends vanished the moment the money did. The Monaco social scene, built entirely on a foundation of stolen wealth, ejected her like a foreign body. She was arrested in Nice trying to use a forged credit card in my name. Facing international fraud charges and destitute, she ultimately pleaded guilty. The last I heard, she was serving a 5-year sentence in a French prison. The woman who wanted to live in the light was now in a small, gray cell. The poetic justice was absolute, the identity she stole became the cage she could not escape. I live in the villa in Villefranche now. The sunlight here is different, cleaner, brighter. I used the small amount I'd saved and a loan against the villa to finally open my art gallery. It's small, but it's mine. It's called La Phoenix. I am no longer Sophia the victim, or the phantom who became Isabella. I am simply myself. Respected in the community, free, and finally living the life my parents wanted for me. The weapon she used, our identical faces, became the very tool of her destruction. They say to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But what do you do when your enemy is your own reflection? You must become a shadow they never see, until you are the darkness that swallows their world whole. Betrayal by a twin isn't just a wound, it's an amputation of the soul. But sometimes, you find that the part they cut away was the part holding you back all along. As for Isabella, she has years in a cell to stare at her own reflection, a face that is now a prison. I'd say that's a form of karma more perfect than any I could have designed. If this story of becoming your own twin's worst nightmare captivated you, if you felt that final, chilling satisfaction, then do me a favor, comment below with the word justice and subscribe to the channel for more stories where the quiet